Good morning, everyone. This is Kevin, and we are inside China Business. We are in Qingdao. Qingdao is a well-developed city on the north coast of China. And when we think of the rapid economic development and modernization of China over the past 30 years, we usually think of cities like this one here, or cities further down the coast. Shanghai, Hangzhou, Suzhou, Guangzhou, Shenzhen. These big, giant, industrialized, modern cities that are along the Pacific coast of China. But when we travel to other parts of China, you can see that they really do have a lot of work yet to do to urbanize and modernize the rest of it. My favorite part of China is Hunan province. It's in the southwest part of China. The weather is fantastic all the time. And their capital city there is Kunming. And Kunming is a very well-developed, modern city. But when you go right outside Kunming, to the countryside villages and towns that surround it, and to the rest of the province, you see that they still have tens of millions more people there to move into modern cities. And if you go further up, north of there is Sichuan province, and another amazing place. The capital city of Sichuan is Chengdu. And Chengdu is as modern as any other city in the whole world. That's where the panda bears are from, by the way, Chengdu. But when you go outside the biggest cities, you see, again, there's tens of thousands of smaller villages and towns that need to be urbanized and industrialized. And the forecasts are that there will be about 290 million people over the next 15 years who will be moved from the countryside into cities like the ones I just described. And just think of that number again, 290 million people. That's almost the entire population of the United States, which is 330 or so. And that is how many people will be moving from the countryside to modern cities and towns in the next 15 years. Keep that in mind too when you hear these reports about ghost cities all across China and how they're building cities that nobody lives in. There will be people living there, just they're not ready yet. If you configure how busy Americans would be if we had to double the size of the population in 15 years, that's what they got to do here. They got to build shopping malls and hospitals and roads and highways and subways and office parks and homes, lots and lots of homes. And all of these people will need work to do. Currently they're farmers, mostly, and as they move to the cities, industries will have to be there first to provide livelihoods for these people. So I'll share now a really terrific report from the Wall Street Journal from last October, and it fits nicely with what we're talking about here. The key takeaway is that it's common to believe that the low-end manufacturing industries, like textiles and furniture, are moving away from China, going to other low-cost labor countries like Vietnam or India or Thailand. These industries are moving, but they're not going there. Instead, the industries are moving to the interior provinces here in China. There are 15 central and western provinces of China, and they are industrializing very quickly. Their export markets are booming, and since 2019, exports from these provinces, manufacturing exports to the rest of the world, have jumped 94%. And in the 12-month span leading up to the article, the provinces exported over $630 billion to the rest of the world. And that's more than India and Vietnam and Mexico during that same period. And the rate of growth is faster too. That is, the export acceleration is faster coming out of these interior and western provinces of China than it is from those countries. We should also note too that a lot of the exports coming from Mexico and Vietnam now, that's China too. They're actually Chinese factories that have moved there to get around the high tariffs operating now in the United States, Canada, and Western Europe. The analysis of this article does point out that China is still determined to be the producer for everything, from semiconductors to the shoes you wear, and that it's going to be a serious challenge for any other countries to wrestle that away from them. For example, logistics costs. Logistics costs in China are still much lower than India or Vietnam. And just the inland logistics system, railroads, highways, is much more comprehensive in China than anywhere else in the whole world. And so other countries that are trying to compete with that have a lot of infrastructure spending and time to invest first. There's also research here from the Rodium Group. Rodium is a large think tank strategic consultancy in New York City. And they concluded that even if these factories do move out of China, they will still be hugely dependent on China because so much of the material inputs and parts and machinery still has to come from China, and that it is inevitable that China's share of exports and of manufacturing will continue to rise anyway, whether it comes out of the central and western provinces or whether from neighboring countries here in Asia. As usual, I will link to the article. It's paywall. It's a Wall Street Journal piece, but I will include most of the relevant points here for you to read yourselves. Thanks for watching. Be good.